Bandidos, I hijacked Stovepipe's AR build and I'm gonna give it to you. I used it solo and in group to eliminate all the manhunt targets. You hit hard, it could take a ton of incoming damage. And I must say, it feels phenomenal. Hit the like if unique and effective builds are for you. Comment Stovey to support the channel.
Now I'm in the limelight cause I rhyme tight. Time to get paid, blow up like the world trade. And if you don't know, now you know. Born sinner, the opposite of a winner. Remember when I used to eat sardines for dinner? Used to raw G's, Lucy Beach, Mr. Freak. Brand now, Mr. Brooklyn way. Funk Master Flex, love. And if you don't know, now you know. Star Ski. I'm blowing up like you thought I would. Call a trick, same number, same hood. It's all good.
Watch this.
And if you don't know, now you know.
I will be providing a couple of modification recommendations depending on what you're tackling. Be sure to stick around for those details also. So if you take a peek at Stovepipe, you see he is running the F2000. So the Bandidos and I created this Stovepipe build in a live build lab to use to finish off the Season 11 Manhunt. And like a boss build, we designed it to hit hard and take a lot of pain, and it worked like a dream. Before I walk you through the build details, let me show you what it can do. So this build hits at 1.2 million on crit before team buffs. Because Stovepipe is using the F2000, I decided to go with the shield Splinterer. And it's actually a really good gun. It's great for DPS builds. It's got 3 mod slots. This is a special gun. The only way to actually get this weapon is by killing the 8 Division 2 hunters that give you 8 ivory keys. Once you eliminate all the hunters, you can then use those keys to open up this chest, and that's how you get the F2000. Now, what's special about this weapon is that it comes with perfect Optimus. Weapon damage is increased by 4% for every 10% ammo missing from the magazine, and we have 50 rounds in the mag, so that's pretty good. That's 40% weapon damage. That's really easy to get. All you gotta do is hold down your trigger. Now, I'm running mine with an 8x scope, and there's a reason why, but I like to run the 8x scope no matter what chest talent I'm running, so keep that in mind. You don't have to do that, but it feels really good on these assault rifles, and when you land those headshots, it just tears those enemies apart. I decided to go with the Omega Suppressor for 20% additional stability. This weapon can really use it. And of course, we have the extended mag. This build's really special. It's actually not a typical way to run a Strikers, but as you can see, I'm running 4 pieces, and there's some unique things to it, some really nice synergies going on here that might be a little bit more beyond the obvious. But let's start with the Striker set. So I'm running 4 pieces, 50% for weapon handling, and again, this weapon can use it. And then we get 15% more rate of fire. This weapon also likes that, and we got the 4 pieces for the Striker's Gamble, which is giving us that total weapon damage. Very nice. And then we have 100 stacks of that, by the way. And I have armor everywhere. So we got armor and crit chance. And then this has risk management. So it increases total weapon damage gain per stack of the 4-piece talent from 0.65 to 1%. So that's really nice damage that the enemy can't take away. So all you got to do is land your shots to build those stacks. And then everything else is pretty much the same. So the gloves are armor, crit damage. The knees are armor, crit damage, and the holster is, you guessed it, armor and crit damage. If you're looking to be part of a strong, positive community, then I have you covered. Join Tux's Discord. We're not elitists, and we're so much more than just clans and raids. Tux's Discord continues to grow as the central hub for the player base that loves this game and wants to see it thrive. And if you love builds, this is the spot. Also, join Tux's Players Club to support the channel, the cause, while getting access to member perks and extra content like gaming music playlists. Click the join button below. Okay, for the chest, now there's gonna be some variables here, so don't get too attached to this chest piece, but I'm running the pristine example, and don't worry about the marksman rifle damage. What we're after is the talent, but I got armor and crits here, and the talent is perfect focus, so this increases total weapon damage. We love that word total by 6% every second you are aiming, while scoped 8x or higher, up to 60%. So that's very nice damage. Great sustained damage, especially. I'm changing this chest piece out depending on what content that I am playing. So this chest piece is especially nice when you need that sustained damage against those bigger and heavier targets. Content where you're encountering warhounds, tanks, chungas, and marauder drones. That made this chest piece extremely helpful for the stovepipe manhunt missions. And then the mask is the Catharsis. You don't see this paired up with the striker build very often, but it's actually an amazing combination. More on that in a second. But we have armor here, incoming repairs, a little bit of armor regen, crit chance, and then the talent's called Vicious Cycle. So taking damage builds stacks to a cap of 30. So that's 30% weapon damage, and then it purges after that. That purge is a heal, which is 5% max armor for 10 seconds to anybody that's standing in that, and you're going to be standing in that. And so that's amazing. So it's this mask is the real reason why we're running all of this armor, because we're going to get amazing armor regen. It's giving us 5% of our max armor per second for 10 seconds. So 5% armor regen. So it's not only about having fast armor regen and a large armor pool, but it's about having a very strong shield. So the shield is important for the Vicious Cycle talent. And some players don't realize this, but the problem with Vicious Cycle is that you need to have high levels of resistance in order to get this thing to actually be active for you. So if you're always hiding in cover, then it's not going to stack very quickly, and you're going to be at the lower levels, and you might break your armor twice before you refill this thing, and then it purges to give you some heals. But you've already used 1 or 2 armor kits by that point, so what's the deal, right? And it's not just armor. You're going to need more than that in order to get this thing to purge for you before your armor breaks. And that's what the shield is about. So the shield is a tier 6 shield at almost 5 million in health with great active regeneration. And so with this build, the strategy is to use the shield to take a lot of incoming damage and cycle that Vicious Cycle up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down as many times as you can, so that you're always getting purges and that you're getting the best of that average on that 30% weapon damage. 0 to 30, 0 to 30, 0 to 30. And it's happening quickly, constantly. That's what you're looking for, constant purges. And this build delivers that. And as you can see, we can stand in front of those drones and those warhounds and tanks and just eat it. And you are going to be steamrolling through heroic control points with this build also. I recommend using it there. Now for the other skill, you're going to change it depending on what you're playing. The decoy, and then you're going to use the jammer pulse, and then otherwise the fixer drone. Those are your 3 main skills on this build. For heroic control points, I like the fixer. Now I am running gunner for 10% armor on kill mostly, but also for ammo. You also get some reload speed increases and RPM increases as extra bonuses. For heroic content, you might also look at firewall specialization so that you can use the striker's shield and get additional damage out of it as well. The trouble is I found that a lot of the enemies, most of the enemies actually, were dying before they got inside the cone of death from that striker's shield anyways. So gunner's probably better off, even though you can get more damage out of that striker's shield. Okay, looking at crits, we're just shy of 40%. Our crit damage is 92%. It's not a heavy crit build, so that's what we like to see. We got 45% stability. I mentioned some build modifications that you should be really bringing along with you as you engage in content. So it's all about the chest piece swap. In my case, I decided to go with Cheska, but a Grupo or Fenris also works. So this gives us more crit chance. I wish I had an armor core, but I just don't have that. Got crit chance and crit damage, more chance. And then obliterate. So that's what you're looking for, is obliterate on the chest. So critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds, stacking up to 25 times. That's really nice damage. It's really nice burst damage specifically. So with this one, you're going to want to make sure you get your crit chance as high as possible, as close to 60 as possible. I can only get mine at 50% because these other pieces are stuck with crit damage, but try to get like 56 up to 60%. So max that bad boy out. This is better for your average NPC engagement, maybe even control points too, because what I realized is that most of the enemies couldn't take the damage from focus. So you were eliminating everything, including bosses with the focus talent before it was even maxed out on most of that stuff. But focus is handy when you are holding it down like you would do in legendary content or against those marauders and tanks and maybe even anything Black Tusk, really. But for your other everyday content like control points or taking out some of the other NPCs throughout this, even the manhunt, I recommend using obliterate. So this is going to be probably the chess piece that you want to run like 90% of the time. And to go to the pristine example, if you're going to do something like legendary content or take on some heavy armored tech or chungas. But the difference is really burst damage. So of course the pristine example is going to give you a stronger overall build with higher sustained damage, but this is going to give you more burst. And so this one's critting at about 1 million, and that might seem like a big difference between 1 million and 1.2 million like we were doing with the focus chest. But when it comes to damage, we don't care. When it comes to time to kill, we do care. And that's what we're looking at. The difference between 1.2 and 1 million in the terms of time to kill, there's really no significant difference. So this build is really just as good and easier to manage. You don't have to worry about staying in scope the whole time. But again, you don't have to use the 8x scope. If you prefer to use a crit chance scope, then I recommend you do that. That's going to reduce your damage by about 100,000 when you're hitting the head. But on body shots, you're going to be the same. I'm telling you, 300% weapon handling on an SMG is gangsta.
Follow me.